Guys?
Thank you, Chrissy. It would take a major earthquake, but seismologists say there's a threat that a huge quake could create a devastating wave that would destroy homes and property on the shores of Flathead Lake.
That's one of the more interesting questions reporter Dennis Bragg had answered as he spent some time recently delving into the earthquake activity under western Montana. Dennis joins us now live in the studio with more. Dennis?
Well, it is a question that's I've been wondering about ever since seeing the big destruction for the massive tsunami, the quake and tsunami in Japan last spring. Could a large enough quake create a similar, albeit smaller, effect on Flathead? Freshwater lake in the west, and one of the 300 largest lakes in the world, is massive. At 27 miles long, nearly 200 square miles, and with almost 6 cubic miles of water, it rivals sections of Washington's Puget Sound. Having spent much of my career on the coast, where tsunami is a constant threat, got me wondering about the danger on Flathead. It turns out the threat is real. It's not called a tsunami, but a seiche, or inland wave caused by a major quake, and they say it's possible.
It's the same phenomenon that you've seen if you've ever picked up a big tub of water by one edge and the wave slops out the far edge and sloshes back and forth.
And we've seen it happen in Montana before. The 1959 quake at Hebgen Lake caused a seiche when the land tilted, sending water from shore to shore several times and washing over the dam.
There were several cabins that were down near lakeshore level, and it just lifted them off their foundations and swept them out into the lake.
Flathead lies at the north end of a major fault line that runs right along the foot of the Mission Mountains. Seismologists have studied that fault and know there was a huge quake of 7.5 magnitude along that fault 7,600 years ago, definitely big enough to generate a seiche. But the heart of the fault lies at the south end of the valley, and that could keep the land from tilting and generating a wave.
It turns out that the south end of the Mission Fault, from about Pablo on southward, is the most active part of the fault, and a large earthquake on that section wouldn't do much ground tilt in the Flathead Lake region, probably not enough to generate a huge wave, but certainly the shaking would be a major issue for the entire region.
And Dennis is here now to talk about, you're working on these pieces. How worried should we be about a quake-generated wave on Flathead Lake?
Well, as Mike Stickney said there when I talked to him, it's because that fault line, most of it is in the south end of the valley. He says the prospects for the land tilting up around the lake aren't that bad. But again, it's something to watch out. It's the shaking that we have to worry about. And the good thing is that fault line through the Mission Valley is one of the few that has been studied pretty extensively. So they have a pretty good handle on where it's going to be. So could it happen? Yeah. Is it something you've got to put up the tsunami warning stickers and the evacuation routes? Probably not. But I'd be thinking about it if I lived right on the beach there.
Definitely something to think about, kind of an eerie.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and when you see that map with all those faults all over, you start thinking, I see now why we get all those earthquakes.
There you
exactly.
go.